Welcome to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I am thrilled, honored, humbled, and grateful to have with me today David Kreiger. David is an amazing leader and a true B2B lead generation pioneer, folks. David is the president of SalesRoads, where he helps companies increase their revenue and lower their fixed costs by outsourcing their inside sales teams to book more appointments they receive, growing their sales and gaining more market share. David is the winner of a 2-time nominee for the Sales Lead Management Association, 40 Most Inspiring Leaders, and Dave's sales efforts have helped establish countless companies, driving their growth for several startups to Fortune 500 companies. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Really, really appreciate it. And wow, that's an amazing introduction. I got to take that on as my elevator pitch for myself. Can I steal that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll just go with you wherever you speak, and I'll be your intro man.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
I'm going to change my LinkedIn header to David's intro man.
There we go. Now I'm set. Thank you, sir.
So David, look, that you've spent a number of years in sales, selling for Trade Out, selling for the Beanstalk Group, running your own company for SalesRoads. To put preface to the conversation for the audience, we're dying to know all of your top sales secrets. Like, to get to brass tacks, people want to know, what are all the secrets like that you've got written down that you go to every single day of the week that you've learned through tried and true hustle and bustle? And I like to always start with first, how the hell did you get started in sales? And then let's take the audience through the top 2 or 3 places that you've sold for and your biggest secrets at those. And then we'll end with your number 1 top sales secret.
Yeah, no. So that sounds fantastic. So the way that I started in sales was by getting fired. And it's even
by getting fired from a sales job, or probably a non-sales job, right?
Well, wait for it. So even better than that, I got fired before I even graduated from college. So I did like on-campus recruiting. I got this cool consulting gig coming out of school, and I thought I was set. I had a nice salary. I got hired like December, so I got to enjoy my whole senior year. And literally a week before graduation, I got a call from the company, and they said, that job offer we gave you, well, we can't afford you anymore. So good luck, have a great graduation, and have a nice life. So I found myself I thought I was prepared. I'd done everything right.
Fired before you got hired.
Fired before I got hired.
Ah, that's brutal, dude.
It was, and I was.
Did that kill your senior summer?
My senior summer, right? So I was all I was ready to. I was going to go with some friends to Alaska. We were going to camp out. We were just going to have an amazing time, and then I was going to start my job. But as all good plans tend to, as it all happens with good plans, they don't always pan out the way that you think, which ended up being a blessing, an amazing blessing. So I found myself a week before graduation without a job. And so I just had to throw myself in and find something. So I was lucky enough that it was 99 when I graduated. It was the first internet.
By the way, why Alaska? Because I know you live in Florida now.
I do.
Have you always lived in Florida, or?
I've lived everywhere. I was born in California, moved to Massachusetts, lived in New York City. So I've lived in Florida for 11 years, and that's the longest I've ever lived in one place.
I love Florida. Dude, I am dying to one day make it big so I could get a house in Florida. That's all I want. I want a 1-bedroom. I don't even want anything big. I like a 1 or 2 bedroom. I just want to be in Florida, man.
Come on, Dad. You've already you got Florida all ready for you here. We'll roll out the red carpet for you, Brandon.
It's awesome, man. So why Alaska? Just random question.
Yeah, I like the outdoors, like hiking. It's something completely different, and I think a friend of mine had the idea and said, let's go to Alaska. I said, why not? That sounds awesome. So just seemed great. So I ended up going to Alaska once I started my company with my wife, but that was fast forward 15 years later. So it took me 15 years to get there. I eventually got there, and it was everything I had hoped it to be.
That's awesome. That's sick. So, okay, you're there. They give you the call. Hired before you're fired. Now what?
So I was lucky in the sense that it was 99. So the first internet boom, right? So there were lots of internet startups that were starting up. So there was lots of lots of jobs out there. I just needed to go get one. I could, so I couldn't wait around and go to Alaska. So I found a really interesting company called, Trade Out, as you mentioned in the intro, and great research there, Brandon. So I found this company, Trade Out, and it looked like it had, an interesting concept. It was basically, at that time, eBay was really big. It was, bigger than Amazon was at that point, if you think back to that point. And it was going to be the business to business eBay. So selling excess inventory and idle assets. And so they had about 15 employees at the time.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
That sounds
we did
genius.
too.
Like the eBay for biz.
Exactly. So yeah, we loved it too. Investors loved it. We got lots of funding. And so I was hired as the 16th employee there by the VP of sales.
Early.
And
awesome.
Yeah, so it sounded like a great concept. And so I came in sales operations. And so I came in the first day, and I asked my boss, so what do I do? And he said, okay, well, let's see. The first thing we need a call center. We need an inside sales team. Go build it. Okay, well, I kind of know what a call center is, but I don't even really know what is inside sales. Like, what is that? And he's like, figure it out. And then he was traveling all over the country, and he was like gone the next day. I was like, I had to like figure it out. And so the first thing was they started just transferring
like
calls.
Kid like that just got out of college.
Right, exactly. I mean, I didn't.
Dude, when I got out of college, I didn't know anything about inside sales. That's crazy.
I hadn't sold anything. I hadn't, I didn't know anything. I just knew that now this was my job to build a whole team, build the infrastructure. And the first thing it was actually to do it. So the one thing he did before he left on his trip was to start having calls getting transferred to me. So I was the call center, and I was the sales guy. And then I had to, as we were starting to get momentum, more calls were coming in. We also had to like figure out a plan as to how to proactively go out and make sales. So literally, coming out of college, my first sales gig was not only to learn what selling was, what inside selling was, how to do it myself, but then literally build a team and start making it happen for the company. So totally overwhelming, totally like was working
I feel like that's
hours.
Bad management on the leader, maybe.
Yeah, listen, I mean, yeah, you could to some degree.
Or he just had like so much faith in you, he knew that you could take it on. I mean, that's a lot of faith to put in a guy that just graduated from college.
Yeah, listen, it was also somewhat necessity. Like we were just stretched at that point. We were running 1,000,000 miles an hour. He did have faith in me, which I'm grateful for, and he did. He gave me some general guidance, but listen, he said, go make it happen. I'll be honest, I love him for that, because what I was able to learn, not only in just like learning what sales was and inside sales and just regular things you have to like figure out, but just the idea of making something out of nothing, right? And basically being given the gift at 22 to like have to go and build something and figure out how to
almost
build
be like an entrepreneur. Like, hey, here's a business within a business, go build it and figure it out.
Exactly. And so it was an amazing ride, right? And made mistakes, and he was okay. He was okay. He was definitely nurturing. He would help. He guide me and give me some ideas. But
I feel like that's a big secret in sales. Do you agree that empower your people to fail fast, fail big, and just like take chances?
Totally. And then reflect and learn from them, right? So I mean, that's the key thing, right? So we often talk about making mistakes, but really just taking a moment, and I've done this better later on in life though, of reflecting on what we learned. Like I have a little journal next to me every day, and there's one part that just says lessons learned, and I force myself every day to fill it out, no matter what. There's got to be a lesson learned in business and personal, with my kids, whatever. And so always just making that time
every day right now,
right here. So
every day lessons learned. So this is a secret. What type of, is that a special focus journal or something?
It's called the Self Journal. So it's broken down quarterly, and so I have a page for every day, and then they also have like I have my 3 big quarterly goals, and I'll get to that a little bit in my secret, and then my 3 daily goals, like and then lessons learned, wins for the day, and I always take time to just fill it out. But the most important part, the 2 most important parts are both the targets, amazing, but then that lesson learned and forcing yourself to do it. Because you could go and say, listen, I didn't learn anything today. But if you really think about it, if you take 5 minutes to think about it, you learn something every single day.
I love that. That's another micro
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so you're building this
hmm
thing at Trade Out. Uh, what happens?
So it's so here's the deal. So we uh we raised a lot of money. We had a lot of hype.
And
We did a lot of great
what is a
things.
lot of money? Because like
It
everyone
you know what?
defines
And it
that
wasn't even
differently.
compared to today. It's not even a lot of money. I think it was like 64 million. So it was, at that.
Dude, that's a lot
Well,
of
yeah, but
money.
compared to
Like,
like
what
what's
are you
happening
talking
today,
about?
so I don't know. So yeah, it's a lot of
65
it's a lot of
million is
money.
a shitload of
Okay,
money.
yes, but compared to what you see today, like we thought it was like more than anything ever.
Was that like the
So
first round of funding? Like that was like their Series A?
that's or are you saying was that the series A?
Yeah, like was
Oh no
that
no no
their
we had several series. So I
okay,
think we got to series D or E or I don't know something.
wow.
We had
Okay,
a
so
few we
this
had a
is a
few.
bit
A
this is like
benchmark
the
was part of us at one point. So you know
this is a big round of funding. So you take on all this money
yeah.
and then
And and I learned, and another micro secret, which I think a lot of people, is learn from some of the mistakes other people are making. When you're not online. And one of the big things, I think we had a great concept. I really think it could have been something, but our cost structure got way out of control. We were in like before we had really proven the model in the U.S. We had a rep in China trying to sell and things like that. We were
oh
in
my
Latin
God.
America. We had a whole team in Latin America. Like we hadn't
You had a
even proved the
global team
concept.
before you even validated
Yeah,
the
so we made
got it.
and it was really just the cost structure got out of control. We didn't have time to pivot, and so eventually it was sold for pennies on the dollar. But for me, what ended up happening was with the inside sales team. So we had both an inside sales team, and then we also built this outside sales team. And with the exception of one rep who was like selling like used power plants or something crazy like that for millions of dollars, who was obviously uh, bringing in a lot of revenue for the company, inside sales was outperforming outside sales. Now, our sales weren't
Ah,
great over
nice.
the whole company, which is why we went out of business. So you have to put in perspective, but still, and this was in '99, I saw, that inside sales can be as effective, if not more effective than outside sales. And so I was able to learn how to do this. I was also able to kind of see the power of inside sales back then, even though at the end of the day, the company didn't end up working. So that's where I was at
I
Trader.
like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay. Killer. That's just wild. How like was it like a 2x, 3x, 4x?
Compared to outside sales, right?
Like
So if you take the
yeah,
power
compared to
plant
outside
guy
sales.
out, because his sales, he was like
Yeah,
there
he's
just
like
was
an
one rep who
outlier.
was killing it. So we were literally 6 times outside sales, and the cost was nothing compared, nothing.
6 times. I bet you it was like half or like 1/3 the cost of outside
If
sales.
that, because we had a team of about 8 folks, and outside we had like maybe like 20 folks. It was like crazy. It was just you could it just it proved the power of inside sales to the nth degree. So
Got it. So then you see this power, the company shuts down. What do you decide to do next?
yeah, so and this was a mistake I think in my career. So again you got to learn from your mistakes and whatnot. So I went
Love
and
it.
I
Those are
decided, listen,
great secrets. Like
yeah,
the mistakes are the secrets, in my
yeah,
opinion. Like
totally.
it's easier to learn from failure than it is to learn from success, I feel like.
I think so. And this wasn't a terrible, I think it was just a career path. Like I give the younger me different advice, right? So I felt like, okay, the internet, we were in like a mini recession, the internet bubble just popped. And I was like, let me go to like corporate brands. Let me go to something a little bit more stable. And so I went to a great company, Beanstalk Group. It's a trademark licensing company. And I eventually took over, it was interesting, and I learned a lot. I was doing brand licensing for Ford Motor Company. So doing all the little tchotchkes, you see the shirts, the die-cast cars, all that stuff. So working on the brand
Wow.
strategy and for licensing, and then working with the sales team. I actually wasn't directly in sales there to sell all that stuff. And so it was a good experience, but I will tell you, like, there's nothing like working with growth companies and just startup companies. I think I didn't learn that much in, like, I think I was there for 3 years. In the 2 years I was at TradeOut, the amount that I learned there was exponential compared to the 3 years I spent at the Beanstalk Group. But I really should have just stayed with growth companies, with technology, and and so it was fine. It was an okay pivot, but it would have been much better just to stay in sales, in tech, and stay on that road.
Got it. So the secrets, because I've never done any brand licensing like that before. I don't know a lot of people that have a lot of experience with that. It kind of reminds me of Ari Gold for the celebrities of Entourage, but instead of representing like celebrities, you're representing brands. Is that like how it is?
It really is. And we had some celebrities, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, the Olsen twins. We did all their trademark licensing. So it totally is like that. And you're taking a brand, a very powerful brand, and we're figuring out ideas for Mustang, like we went into cologne, for Mustang, and figuring out good brand extensions and things like that. And here's the micro.
Like, how do you get that brand like into Universal Studios or like Planet Hollywood or like those types of things, or is it mainly like creating new products?
So we would think about the essence of the brand, right? So Mustang, what are things that the Mustang brand could help sell? So like, men's cologne is a good thing. Leather jackets, the die-cast cars were easy. Even like bracelets. So thinking about the essence of what that brand means to the consumer, and thinking about good logical brand extensions, and then basically selling that brand, the rights to use that brand to the apparel manufacturer, to the cologne manufacturer, and so.
What was the cologne like? So you've got Mustang, the car. And what was the cologne, and how the hell do you pitch? Like, how do you pitch that?
So, basically you think about what the target market of the guy driving the Mustang is, right? A muscle car, and you think about like, would you like your cologne to be able to appeal to that target customer? Male, 22 to 32, single, really looking to make an impression with the ladies, whatever it might be, and would you like to have a cologne that could appeal to that target market? Instead of building your own brand, spending all the money in advertising and whatnot, you can literally license it from us for a few points, put that brand on there. You're going to get, it's going to be much easier to get retail distribution, and you're going to get folks who that appeals to. Whereas if you just had your regular brand, it's not going to necessarily, they're going to walk by it on that.
I love it. Is that what type of deal sizes is that?
So they range, so
I feel like they got to be huge.
So it ranges, and it's all how you carve it out, right? So there's usually a guarantee, right, that Ford would get paid, and then it's a few points on revenue, not on profit.
Yep.
Right.
Got it. That makes sense. That's awesome. So you did that for 4 years, although you wish you stayed in tech, right?
Yeah, I did. It was an interesting experience, and the micro secret there, for that I did learn is how to work with big companies, right? Working with a Ford Motor Company where, licensing is important to them, but they're really worried about selling cars, right? So the amount of money we're making for them selling cologne, right? It does not show up on their P&L, right? So really trying to find ways
probably
to both get
on the balance sheet, right?
Yeah, it's nothing, so you got to figure out ways, and so almost the job for me, especially because I was the one who was working with them, was how to sell to my client, right? How to get these things done through a big corporation. Literally, like they gave us very few resources. Like all of these things had to be approved by corporate. They had to have an attorney who was reading these contracts, right? And we would sell all these deals. It's a great brand, right? So we'd get lots of deals, and literally they wouldn't happen because the lawyer that they had given to us only had a few hours a week, allocated to us, and he wouldn't get the deals done. So I literally, part of what we did was we would fly up to Deerfield, and we would fly to Ford, and we would like sit there with the attorney, and like just the only reason we were there was to hand them the contracts, just to get through the bureaucracy and get the deals done.
When I was selling for IBM Interactive, it was the same thing. Massive company, 75% of my time was selling internally versus selling externally. That's tough.
Yeah.
And you said the micro secret there with the Beanstalk Group was learning how to sell the external customer and the internal customer.
Yeah, and more even the internal customer, because getting stuff done, and sometimes it's unorthodox stuff to get the deals done, like literally flying flying to Detroit just to hand a piece of paper to the attorney to get the deal done. I mean, multiple deals done, but literally that's the only reason we were there for the most part. But that's what had to get done to get the deal done. So learning that type of stuff.
That's another like a micro secret is just do whatever it takes. It sounds like,
totally.
Like selling internally, externally, you just if you got to jump on a plane to have the legal, sign the damn work so you could sell it to the clone man or woman, then get it inked.
I mean, one of our core values at SalesRoads is make it happen. I think that derives from that. Yeah. You just got to figure out what you need to do to make it happen. And at the end of the day,
I love that core value.
Yeah.
You need talented people that just do that, right?
Yep.
Just do whatever it takes. Figure it out. Make it happen. Like you did at a trade out when your VP was crazy and let you just build this whole inside sales team as a 21-year-old or whatever. That's awesome. So, and the reason that you wish you didn't leave or tech to go into IP licensing and intellectual property and whatnot, what was the main reason there?
I just think at a growth company, and by tech I mean like a growth tech company, like a startup to I just think the amount of opportunity, the amount of learning is just exponential versus coming in
the minimal bureaucracy, all that jazz.
Yeah, totally. So I just, and even companies that even it's nice when they have big training programs, and there's I don't want to disparage that. But I think there's just so much more learning to just get in with smart people and just start doing stuff, and the learning is exponential. So again, I didn't have a bad experience at Beanstalk, and I did learn a lot. It just wasn't anything comparable to what I did at TradeUp.
So any other secrets that you want to share from your experience at Beanstalk before we move on to the next thing? Anything that stands out that you think would benefit the audience?
I mean, I think those are some of the main
ones.
things, I think. So
awesome. Yeah. So you're ready to finally get out of brand management, right? Mm-hmm. For Ford Mustang.
Yep.
I mean, I know they sold more cars, but I do like the Mustang. It's a fun car.
Great car.
So you're ready to get out,
mm-hmm.
and what's next from there?
So I went to business school from there. So I went back to school and I gave myself a challenge. I decided that what I was going to try to do was take those 2 years and figure out a way to start my own company instead of trying to get a job. Because, well, we all know how that worked out the last time where I got a job and got laid off. So I don't want to get burned twice the second time going through it. So no, but I felt like I was going to I had 2 years, it was a gift of two years where I like literally could just try to figure out something that I could try to launch. And so I went back to school and had a great experience. I learned a lot, met a lot of great people. And I just tried to figure out how I could start a company. And so what I did there was my first year, there was a business plan competition.
Which I get and appreciate, by the way, because I launched Seamless when I was working full-time for IBM, getting my MBA in the evenings, and was working on it as part of the part-time MBA program. Like those are the best times to like have the energy and time to just think, because like you're learning all the case studies, different companies, different people from different companies, and like you could see different market dynamics to build different products. I think that's awesome that you thought that way.
Totally. And the number of different people that you could get your ideas from. And hats off to you, Brandon, because I mean, part of it for me was I wasn't working, so I had more time. You were doing double hustle there. That's triple hustle if you're
I was forced to, because my fiance got her JD.
Mm-hmm.
So like pretty much every day she was just grinding on law.
Okay.
Full time. So it's like she didn't have any time to hang out with me. So in the evenings, like, when I was working full time, I'm like, I might as well get my MBA if she's getting her JD, and she can't hang out with me anyways. I might as well be productive.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, hats off. So I don't know if I would have been able to do it while holding down a job too. So nice.
But so you do it, you start brainstorming.
Yeah, so I literally there was a business plan competition, and so I didn't have an idea, so it was work backwards, and let's enter the business plan competition. And so we started brainstorming, and the concept actually, when I first started, was to develop a distributed call center. So, this was, where people work remotely out of their home offices, because
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
Yep.
because
Love that.
yeah, and one of the things I had learned, building the call center and the inside sales team at TradeOut was, I was able to recruit really amazing people, but partly because we had equity, and it was an exciting company and things like that. But it was in Westchester County, New York. It was not the easiest place to recruit a lot of talent there, or at least the competition was high. And so I thought, why not allow people to work remotely, right? I mean, these are metric businesses. You can monitor everything. You can do call recording, things like that.
I've worked in sales for 8 years remote. Like I love remote.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, certain roles I love it for.
Right.
I think, and back then though, what year around was that? Like when you were thinking about
2005.
doing. So remote's like pretty damn new back then.
It was
right?
early. It was really early. So there were a few companies that were doing it in the call centers, like the company called LiveOps was big at that point, and things like that. So, but it was very early. But I loved the model, and then the other thought, and this eventually went by the wayside, but there were a lot of folks in my MBA class who were in the military. And I started learning a lot about military spouses and the high unemployment rates among military spouses.
Yeah, because they just have to follow, right? Kind of like follow and stay stationed with nothing to do.
Exactly. And so it seemed, like unemployment rates were like 3 times higher than normal unemployment rates. So I thought, wow, what if we created a distributed call center and just hired military spouses? And so we could create a unique culture, and and so that was the concept. So we submitted to the business plan competition. We got like 3rd place in the business competition. So it seemed like it had some, got some validation there. And then we were part of the venture initiation program. So we got some office space the second year, and started just thinking about it, traveling to some military spouse bases and whatnot. And I'm actually a risk averse entrepreneur. So I actually literally, here was my 3rd job. I was recruiting at the same time, right? So I was trying to think, like, have as many options as I could until the last moment. And so then I finally, at the end, I'd gotten a few job offers, and I just was like, you know what, if I'm not going to do it now, especially because I'm a risk averse entrepreneur, and once I get a family and things like that, I just got to throw myself off the bridge and do it. And so I turned down all the job offers, didn't let anyone fire me at this point. I turned them down, and I launched the company out of B-School.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Thank you.
And did you end up keeping, so was the spouse, was it too hard to roll out, you said?
Yeah.
So that part didn't scale?
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, so I think, so what I found, so literally right after graduating, I got on trains, and I was going to military bases, recruiting folks. And so I got a few contracts. And my first contract was actually with the VP of sales, who had hired me at TradeOut, because he initially started Adopt a Highway, and it was a company that he was running, and they needed some appointment setting for their reps. So my first contract actually was with my former boss. And so I recruited some military spouses to do the work. And then literally, even though our whole website and our everything with recruiting was all about military spouses, our original name was actually Home Base USA, like base and double entendre type thing. So
Home Base, I like that.
Right. So we literally got all of these salespeople applying for jobs who had no military background, no military spouses. So, and we were just turning them down. Like, no, you're not a military spouse. Doesn't matter. And then literally after like I don't know, it was like 3 months or whatnot. It's like, what are we doing? Like, companies like the idea that we're supporting the military, because it's great, it's great, but it's not like it's closing a deal necessarily for us. I talked to the Department of Defense. Is there, some ways we can do it? And literally, that's going to take forever. And I got, I just turned down all these jobs. I got to start making some money, right? So I was like, why are we turning away great salespeople who just want an opportunity to be able to work from home, and they're finding us, and they just want to be able to sell out of their home and not have to go, into either a call center or a company. They might, be in remote areas. There might not be opportunities. And so at that point, we just pivoted. We're like, let's just open this up. Let's keep the work from home model, but allow any great salesperson who wants to work for us. And that's where the
Wow.
military spouse
So
thing
what a
went from the
company,
wayside.
when you had the idea and you launched it, the way that you pitched it is like, hey, we will do outsourced sales, remote sales for you,
Correct.
right? And then was it first you on the phones or?
Yeah, well, even for a while, I mean, I was on the phones doing appointment setting, and for a long time, and even now, that's one thing I feel I need to do more of still. We get so busy running our companies, but I think it's really important. I have my team on and my
It was
managers are on the
funny. I
phone.
was just cold calling right before jumping on this
It's so
because I was with one of my SDRs and I'm like, I love prospecting and I never get to do it and I miss it every day.
Totally. So you got to get in the trenches, right? And so I actually don't do enough of it right now. It's one of my big goals for next year is to make sure I block some time to get back on the phones, both for even sales reps or just our clients. You gotta stay fresh. You gotta get in the trenches. But so for a long time I was calling, but I had reps, and I would call alongside them and whatnot. But yeah, we pivoted away from the military spouse modeling. That was great, but you gotta see what's happening on the ground. Even if you have a concept that seems to have legs, you gotta go with what works.
You launched this this remote sales company. Let's go through some of the secrets because you've been doing this for what, 12, 13 years?
Yeah,
right?
Almost 12 years in April, so 11 and a half years.
Which, congrats, by the way. Being an entrepreneur, running any company, one is impossible, right? Building your own company is really, really hard, let alone doing it for over a decade. So hats off to you. You must be doing something great.
And a lot more gray hair than when I started here,
Brandon. When it comes to share some of the secrets, man. Let's hear about some of the wins and some of the sales secrets and some of the failures that you guys have had.
Yeah, so I think so not like my secret. You're saying just overall our sales secrets at sales.
So I like the end of you talking about the secrets that you learned from SalesRoads. We're going to ask your number one sales secret, but think about just the 12 years at SalesRoads. Like, what were the secrets that helped you, take the business to the next level, or the failures that you learned from where you're like, I'm never doing that again? And that's a micro secret as well. Like, what are some of those things that stand out if you had to like think deep about them?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. The first thing, just thinking about longevity in entrepreneurship and just running a company, right, is I've found that nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems in the moment, right?
That's such like good advice. Nothing is ever as good or bad as it seems.
And it's so true. I mean, there's so many times.
Sounds like this flat equilibrium.
Right. Well, and it right. If you step back, like when you're in the moment, right, it's like literally like this in entrepreneurship, right? But then you take one step back.
I feel that way every single day. It's exhausting.
It's true. But then you take one step back and it's just, hopefully it's like this, right? It's just going up, right? Slowly, or I know you're all about 10Xing. You guys have done amazing things. I've been more about steady, slow growth, but literally, there's so many times when either it was like, this is going to be the most amazing thing. Like, this is just going to like, just transform everything. And like, we're just going to like, and a lot of times it's not so it could be good. It's not like, it's not going to take off the way, unless you're, obviously there are examples.
I tell my devs every day, this new feature is going to be a game changer. Exactly, and it's like, I've said that for 192 features.
Totally. Exactly. And then also is bad, right? There's so many times when it's like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to move on tomorrow, right? Yeah. It's just going to be done. And every single time, it is always fine, right? As long as you stay even keeled, and that's the most important thing. Is you got to maintain that perspective, on both sides, right? You can't bet all your chips on that thing that you think is going to be amazing, right? And you also can't just fold them when you feel like things aren't good. So I think keeping that perspective throughout the last 11 years has been really good, both for me, but also for my team, right? Our teams are going to see all these good things and bad things, and they look to you to know how to react.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
have to
been
have
really
high emotional intelligence to handle the lows and the ups.
totally 100%.
Or I'll say, if you're freaked out, the whole team's going to be freaked out. I feel like that's another micro secret.
100%. They look to, because they got to get guidance to understand how good or how bad this might be. So,
Yeah, that's
so that,
awesome.
yeah, that's one micro secret. The other thing I think is if you chase two rabbits, you catch none, right? Well, maybe a little cliche, but so important. And I've
Someone
had
told me that. I read that either in a book or someone told me that, and I use it all the time now with my team. You try to, so another secret from David, if you try to chase two rabbits at once, you catch none.
And it's true. And I've learned, and I had to learn this secret over and over. And I'm probably still going to have to learn. Even though I'm telling you everyone right now to do it, I am sure I'm going to find another rabbit that I'm going to start chasing, and then I'll be like, why did I listen to myself?
And do you have any examples of the, like this scenario?
Totally. So we had a client a few years back that we were doing a big appointment setting campaign for, and they loved us. And they were moving their inbound tech support from the Philippines to Dallas, to the US, because they were getting complaints about their Philippine tech support. And they said, listen, you're call center. Can you do our inbound tech support while we make this transition? And we said, sure, that sounds great. And so, literally, overnight, we added like 16 inbound seats for tech support. And, we did a good job. And so I was like, wow, maybe we should go into tech support. Now, we're a sales company, right? And I was lucky that I had a good manager who was managing it, but like, it's very different to like help a client out and do a little bit of inbound text. And we probably even shouldn't have, but it worked out. But literally, I was like, you know what? We're going to start creating a website. We're going to create support roads. We're going to have a new company for tech support. And it's hard enough to do appointment setting, lead generation well, right? It's really hard, right?
Really hard.
And to then start thinking you're going to do tech support well, there's all these competitors who are doing it, pretty cost effectively. And that was just a waste of like 6 months of just focus and time. And we don't often calculate, when we're going, especially in the service business, the cost of launching a new product when it's kind of people. But there's tremendous costs in loss of focus, in not doing your core business as well, not iterating your core business as well, not going after new clients in your core business, because everything takes more time than you think. And we lost focus during that 6 months, and it was a mistake. We got to stay focused in our core business.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's a great example of chasing two rabbits and catching none.
Right.
You guys were doing great with the appointment setting. Try to create this new product based on just one customer scenario.
Right.
And, you probably would have been able to maybe even double the business if you just focused on the appointment setting for those 6 months.
Totally. Another cliche, focus equals growth, right? And so, a lot of times when we see this, when we think about clients or, what's our target market? A lot of times you want to go broad, but we've seen it time and time again. There's lots of people who speak to it more eloquently than I. When you figure out a segment of the market and service them really, really well, you could be a lot bigger than if you're trying to do everything for everyone. And so, as part of that, just focus equals growth. And it's tough because, as entrepreneurs, we like to go after that shiny object. We think it's cool.
Yep.
You're like, that's awesome, but it takes discipline. And then, I think I've gotten better, but still have room to go.
That's awesome. So, David, any other secrets that come to mind real quick before we wrap up with your number one top sales secret?
Yeah, so this is a new one, and I've been learning. I've been working with a business coach too, which I think is an awesome thing for entrepreneurs, especially if you don't have a co-founder, if you don't have somebody to bounce it off, and that's just been transformative for me. And one of the things
why exactly?
So why has it been transformative?
Yeah, like why do you recommend a business coach, and why has it been transformative?
Yeah, so a few different things. One is, even though I went to business school and went to a good business school, and they teach entrepreneurship, right? There's no real book for entrepreneurship, right? And it's got to be day in and day out.
It.
You got to do it.
It's like trying to teach poker. You got to play. You can't.
Right. 100%. And isn't it better to be able to play it with somebody on your side, over your shoulder every week, just talking about the issues, coaching you, pointing
Yeah.
out your blind spots,
An
giving you some
expert that
framework.
knows how to do that, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly. So giving you a framework to figure out how to scale your company. And so I'm working with a great sales coach, Jen Berkowitz. So I'll give her a little shout out here, who's just been, I've been working with her the past 2 years, and she's just really helped me create frameworks, point out my blind spots. And that was where my last micro secret is. And this is something literally I've just been working on the past quarter. So there's a book called Multipliers that talks about how do you
Liz Wiseman, right?
exactly, yeah. So
one of my favorite books.
Fantastic. It's been a game changer for me, and I realize, so a lot of times we think about, so you reading it, you know this. I'll give the quick digest as how it related to me.
Yeah, the audience doesn't know, but like a lot of Google, Facebook, like all these top fast growing massive companies, especially tech, they bring Liz Wiseman in to speak, and it's all around multipliers. How do you multiply talent? And it really teaches you this fundamental shift in leadership, management. I mean, like I've only read the book twice, and then I saw her speak a few times, like virtually on YouTube, at Google, and other places. Like, in your words, what is multipliers, and like how do you use it?
Yeah, and so there's a lot of aspects. I'll give you just the one that resonated most to me. And I think there's so many aspects to it. And I'll check out the Google Talk I'd love to actually see it, because I've read the book twice now too, because I think it's good to read things twice. But here's the thing that was transformative for me, is that I think we all know that there are what leaders or bosses that we've had that are quote unquote diminishers, right? They take credit for themselves when you do things well. I think you even spoke about it on podcasts with your IBM folks, who they take credit for you.
I'm brutal about it, because I speak so honestly about it. When I was selling for IBM, that's exactly how it was. And I've got IBM customers, and I've worked with IBM, and my father even worked for, like, my family and we work for IBM. Like, that's no dig on IBM. There's great divisions, great departments that don't operate that way. My division, my department, they were diminishers. Everything bad I did, it was because of me. Or like everything bad that happened to the department was because of me. Everything good was because of my bosses.
And most of us have had bosses like that, right? Or we've worked with people like that. And it's clear cut. It's a diminisher. We all know intuitively that that's not a good way to manage. And so before reading the book, I knew that wasn't a good way to manage. What was eye-opening to me was what she found in her research about what's called the accidental diminisher. And that is the person who is the manager and sees the person who works for them struggling, right? Or in sales, like they're on a sales pitch and they're bumbling it, and they come in and they save it, right? And they help them out. Or they've got a deadline, they see they're not going to make the deadline and getting a proposal out, and they come by their desk and they say, let me help you finish this out, right? And they might be helping them finishing up and trying to teach them along the way, but they're still the one who's really doing the work, and they didn't let them fail, right? And when somebody does that, a lot of times they think they're being a great manager. They're helping their person out. They're trying to make sure that they don't fail. They're trying to help them succeed in their role. But what they're actually doing is they're almost as bad as that diminisher. Not as bad, but almost as bad, because they are not really helping them to grow. They're not helping them to understand how to plan their time better. They're not understanding how their sales pitch is leading them to a dead end, and they're going to lose that deal, right? And it is much better to allow those people to go through the motions and let them fail, right? And then coach them and talk to them about better ways to do it. And it's tough. It's tough for managers to step back. But what happens is, not only do people not grow, they feel resentful that their manager is coming in and doing it. And then they, worse than that, become often codependent, where then they can't do any of the tasks without their manager. And I realized that I am an accidental diminisher to the nth degree. I would come in under the guise of helping my team and thinking I'm being a good guy and trying to not let them fail. And I was diminishing them. And not letting them grow, and not letting them learn, and not letting them fail. And so I've really been working on stepping back in every meeting, I try to be the last one to speak. I don't chime in and give all my ideas. I let my team debate it out, talk through it. If they're giving a pitch or whatnot, I'm going to step back, and I'm just going to let it go, and I'm going to take notes and try to help them potentially afterwards. But I'm not going to step in and get in their business, because at the end of the day, this is their thing. And when you jump in, it becomes your thing, and that doesn't feel very good.
That was a perfect synopsis of being a multiplier. And then what is in your opinion a multiplier? And then we'll get into your top sales secret.
So a multiplier is and I think it's a lot of the same principles. You interviewed Keith Rosen, of sales coaching, across all different disciplines, and it's really it's being a coach, right? And it's giving your team and people on your team responsibility, giving them then accountability, and then being there for them to come and ask questions. But when they never to, she has a great example of never take the pen from them. Like if they come and you should be there to help them and brainstorm and ask them questions and probe, but always, always, always on anything that is their responsibility, hand that pen back and say, okay, we discussed it, go and make it happen, and you give them back responsibility. And so being there to coach them, to help them to grow, but not to be doing their stuff. Allow them, and they want, good people want to be able to do their stuff. They want accountability. They want to be able to feel ownership. And being an accidental diminisher, definitely a diminisher, doesn't allow them to have that accountability and ownership.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much, David, for giving us the overview on how the multiplier leadership kind of style principles has transformed the way that you manage, you lead your team. And just because I know, we're close to running out of time here, the audience is dying to know. So for the conclusion of where you've been and where you're at today, sales secrets from the top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. David, if you had to go back in time to when you first started in selling, the number one thing that you would tell yourself, teach yourself, train yourself on to maximize your sales results, your income results, your revenue potential, you name it. What is your number one top sales secret? And we like to cover what is it, why is it, and how can the audience execute your top sales secret immediately today?
So my number one sales secret is the one thing. So I'm going to be a little nerdy here because I'm quoting books all over. But there's Gary Keller.
One Thing by Gary Keller, right? Yeah, I love that book too. That's a good one.
I love it, and it's been really important for me just as an executive, but also as a salesperson and a sales coach. And that concept of the one thing, right? And so I'm going to break it down because there's so many different directions we can go here. But here's how it translates, at least for me and my company and my team.
And who is, just for the audience, who's Gary Keller and what is the one thing?
Yeah, so Gary Keller started Keller Williams, real estate. You've probably seen it all over. Just huge, massive, amazing company that's just grown tremendously. He's built amazing trainings for real estate agents. Just really an amazing organization. He's done a fantastic job building that brand, that organization, and growing it. And then he wrote a book a few years ago called The One Thing. And the concept behind that is that literally almost in everything in life, if you boil it down to one thing, the one thing you need to do this year, the one thing you need to do today, and you have the discipline to figure out the most important thing and get it done, that has been will completely propel your success in whatever you want to do. Because a lot of times we get so lost in all the details of all the things we need to do, and we forget to prioritize what is that most important thing. And then a lot of times the most important thing never gets done. We get all the other little things done, right? But not the most important thing. And so that was transformative for me, because I am totally the type of person who just tries to get all this stuff done and run in a mile a minute. And so how it relates to sales success for me, especially in coaching, I'm going to break it down there because that's where I've seen some of the most transformative success, is that as we at SalesRoads, we really want to have a very strong sales coaching culture, right? Because it's very hard, to do this job, to do it well, to know what to do well. But where we had difficulty was having our managers be effective coaches. They might have been good sales reps, or they might be good managers or whatnot, but really transforming and seeing a positive increase in a quota attainment through sales coaching. And one of the things after reading that book, after sort of hearing some of the coaching that was being done and that I was being done, is that a lot of times in coaching, even if we do it right, the way Keith Rosen says, where you're sort of asking questions and all those types of things, we try to summarize or come back and have them come up with all these different things that they need to then actualize after the coaching session. You got to ask more questions. You got to listen more. You've got to slow down. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. And the rep comes out of the coaching session is like, oh my gosh, I got all these things that I need to change, right? Because as coaches, we hear things, we see things that we think need change. We help them to diagnose it, hopefully, but then we want them to change everything. But it's much more effective to work with them. It's much harder, right? To work with them, ask them questions, and figure out what is the most important thing, the one thing that if they were to change in their sales approach, that would have the most positive benefit, what would it be? And we work in the coaching sessions to help them diagnose what their one thing is, right? And then we write it down, we memorialize it, and then we try to keep it there. Because if you throw too many things at the reps, first of all, they'll probably gravitate towards the easiest thing to do, right? Which isn't the thing that will have the most positive benefit, right? Or they're going to get overwhelmed with all these things and not remember what to do. So we really tried to create a culture of coaching to the one thing. And we've seen tremendous results in that, because it's easier, first of all, for the coach to come in and try to think in that way. It's easier for the rep to then execute on that, and it's easier to keep them accountable to that one thing. So that is my one thing, one tip.
Dude, I love it.
For 1%.
Wow. And I think the secret with the one thing is distilling it down to like figuring out of the 5 things, what is the one thing?
That's the hardest part.
So do you have that's the hardest part, right? So what are some tips? Like, what do you do when you've got 17 priorities, 17 things to work on, or 5 or 10? Let's just say you got 10 on the list of, you're the founder, CEO, president. How do you distill from 10 to 1?
For myself, you're talking about now, right? Or you talk?
Yeah, for your own company.
Yeah. So here's what I do, and it comes back to actually to the journal actually helps me. So what I do every quarter, and we do this. I do this with my coach and with my team too. We have our quarterly, and we think through. It's a full day quarterly. We think through our top priorities. What are the biggest issues? What are our biggest opportunities? And we spend literally a day trying to think of what are our priorities, right? And then literally it's going to be like white sheets, right? And we try to figure out what those top priorities are. We assign them. And then for myself, I figure out what is that one thing, that most important thing that if I got it done over the course of this quarter, that it would have the biggest positive impact on the company. And then in my journal, right, I have my project plan for it. And then literally every single day, I have 3 targets, and one of them has to relate to that one thing, right? So that I'm working on it every day to move the needle forward.
You're looking at it every day. I mean, you're spending a whole day breaking down, like, what's the most important thing that quarter, that month, that week, that day.
Right, and it's got to modify that thing that we decided at the beginning of the quarter. And that's how you get disciplined. And for the most part, it's been good. Listen, there's some days like life happens, business happens, right? But if you have that discipline that you know what you're supposed to, and you take those 5 minutes at the beginning of the day to prioritize yourself, that's where I found that I've been able to execute on that.
That's awesome. Well, David, hey, I really appreciate you sharing all of your top sales secrets, from when you were at Trade Out to the Beanstalk Group to leading SalesRoads over the past 12 years, my man. As a wrap up, where can the audience learn from you, find from you, connect with you for more info?
So I'm on LinkedIn. So, David Kreiger on LinkedIn. And so love to connect with people, and, we blog some stuff out, and we got some content coming out that way. So we'd love to connect, or if you just shoot me a connect message or any questions, or, love meeting new people. So that's great. And then obviously, we're companies at salesroads.com. So you can always come there and see what we're up to. But This has been great, Brandon. I really appreciate the time. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you for sharing everything. And remember, guys, don't forget to figure out what that one thing is. Feel free to pick up the One Thing book by Gary Keller, pick up Multipliers by Liz Wiseman, listen to this podcast. And, for the audience tuning in, this is a wrap up to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Thank you, David Kreiger, for joining us on today's episode. And rewatch, re-listen, read, jump on iTunes, iCloud, SoundCloud, secretsalesbook.com. You can order a copy of the book in David's chapter in secretsalesbook.com, secretsalesbook.com. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to weekly episodes every Monday and Thursday. And thank you so much again, David. Truly appreciate it. Everyone connect with David on LinkedIn or visit salesroads.com. That's salesroads.com.